Mr. Volodymyr Matviychuk, Ukraine's Deputy Minister of Finance. With Mr. Volodymyr, we will speak on the subject of using state funds for the conduct of anti-terrorist operation in eastern Ukraine and to secure the peace in eastern Ukraine. Шановні пані і панове, я запрошую до слова нашого наступного спікера, пан Володимир Матвійчук, заступник міністра фінансів України. З паном Володимиром ми будемо говорити на тему використання державних коштів для проведення антитерористичної операції на сході України та для забезпечення миру на сході України. Пане Володимир, прошу вас до слова.
Good afternoon, dear ladies and gentlemen. Very briefly, I will outline the problem of financial support of the defense of the country, for this year and also for ATO. I would like to draw your attention to the fact that during this year in the state budget for defense and security of the state, we planned 54.3 billion hryvnia, together with that money from the reserve fund, which will given to this need. Compared to 45.1 billion hryvnia we had in 2013. The growth is 119.7%. In the Ministry of Finances, we have an order from the Ministry of Finances which obliges all in the Ministry of Finances to consider all issues related to defense of the country and ATO, and with consideration of all the draft laws, etc. If to look at how we finance, how we cover these costs, and we are trying to provide, to give priority to expenditures for defense and security of the state. For example, I will give you a figure. If in general fund of the state budget, for these needs it is provided 40.5 billion hryvnia. For this, we gave 18 billion hryvnia, that is 44% from an annual plan. As to provided additional money from the reserve fund, probably you know, but I would like to remind that it's some decisions of the government for the needs of for direct needs for anti-terrorist operation from the reserve fund. We invest 8.8 billion hryvnia. On the 21st of July, we used 2.3 billion hryvnia, and 5.9 billion is left. That money will be there, and that money will be given to those needs of law enforcement bodies which they have, which defined for the successful anti-terrorist operation. I would like also to draw your attention to the fact that in amendments to the state to budget, which were brought to the parliament, which unfortunately they did not consider in the parliament, we were planning additional money, additional 9.1 billion hryvnia for defense. And these expenditures are calculated coming out of an ATO on such a scale we have. If those military activities will be broader, then we will have to double that. We will have to double that number. 9.1 billion hryvnia is divided in such a way. 8 billion, that's for 8 anti-terrorist operation, and 1.1 billion hryvnia. It's for training, for preparing to winter. If we are not done with this operation by winter, God forbid us, and if we have to provide clothing, winter clothing, and we have to provide reserve for our military men, that 9.1 billion, it includes money for higher for awards to military men, and that's what we initiated from the May 1 of this year. I hope you have information that a decision of the government since May 1, and that there is a money award, and it's 100 of their salary. So one of the sources of how to get more money to the state budget for this operation, there is, of course, money from people. On the 21st of July, different charity, we received a lot of just money, just 138 million hryvnia. In addition to that, a lot of charity came in kind, like bulletproof vests, helmets, etc., for the sum of 55.4 million hryvnia. In general, such money, totally, we received 192.2 million hryvnia. And probably we have to thank, and we thank all the citizens of Ukraine for that assistance that you provide to support our military men who are involved in anti-terrorist operation. I would like to say that Ministry of Finances goes on a regular basis. We sent our representatives from to a anti-terrorist operation area. We went to Donetsk region and to Luhansk region, and I personally visited and I lived with military men just to feel how our children, I can say, how our children defend our country, how they defend our dear Ukraine. I want to say that the Ministry of Finances, to finance armed forces, we issued such a bond, which is called a military bond, and the money, that money is used to finance the needs of defense. And we received 30.3 million hryvnia. That's very important because under conditions of we have in this balanced budget and profit part of the balance. So it's very important to get such financial support. Unfortunately, I wanted to say, under conditions of in Luhansk and Donetsk region, we don't get a lot of money, a lot of revenue to the budget, and not only from businesses of those two regions, but from enterprises, from businesses which are connected to those to the business in those areas. As to money reward or award, I can give you an example. Take the Minister of Defense. The senior officers, they receive that assistance from that award from May 1, like 7.5 thousand hryvnia. And in general, it's 15,000. They make about 15,000 a month. As the junior officers, that's a little bit less because. So it's about on the level of 6,000 hryvnia, so make about 12,000 hryvnia a month, and military man contract 3.6 thousand hryvnia. So in general, they will make 7,200 a month. Of course, we cannot say that these are big payments, and we have to agree it's not big money. because they risk their life there, and we have a lot of dead, a lot of casualties as a result of this operation. I would like also to mention that there are different approaches how to raise money, and different money are directed to finance different events related to anti-terrorist operation. I will name this number to support mobilized who defend our country by the end of the year. We need about 1.7 billion hryvnia. Unfortunately, if the situation will get worse, we will have to enlarge that sum. If to take planned expenditures and money from the reserve fund, and that 9.1 billion hryvnia, which we plan in the amendment side of the budget, so the general expenditures and for defense and for the state, that was 63.4 billion hryvnia, 18 billion more than in 2013, or 40% more. So these are money. This money we could, with this money we could finance other needs, like to improve our welfare sector. But we have to spend that money to defend our country. Of course, we all have to mention that from the budget we use money to realize those laws which are already passed in the parliament and which are directly linked to social with welfare of military men, of National Guard. For example, the law was passed, and it says that members of military men who die and during this operation will provide benefits like with fees, like to families participants of war. The law also was passed, and it says that directly for military men and also other people who directly are involved in ATO to give certain benefits. What I mean, military men, it's clear, but in ATO there are also not military men, but for example, like nurses, medical staff, they risk their life. I saw that with my own eyes. And such benefits are provided for them too. The law was says that the pension, if they lose a member of the family, the pension should not be less than 2 subsistence minimums, and that pension should be calculated not like before, like 40% from the salary, but 70% from the salary, and not less than 2 subsistence minimal subsistence level. And it's 949 hryvnia multiple by 2, and we hope it will grow this sum. The law, there is a draft law in the parliament which provides that people who suffer as a result as a result of ATO, they will have a simplified access to technical and other means of rehabilitation. I was in Kharkiv hospital, and I saw, oh God, young boys who had awful traumas, and so they needed to get. We don't need to wait. We should we need to provide prosthesis for them, artificial limbs, and we need to provide necessary means for rehabilitation. This is what I want to tell you very briefly, and I wanted to underline once again that, of course, it's very difficult in these times under conditions of disbalanced budget and to get when we get less of revenues to the budget. It's very difficult to solve financial problems, but we're trying. We do our best, and I hope that the Parliament will pass those amendments to the law, and we'll get the right, legal right. To use those 9.1 billion hryvnia. If God, we have, God forbid, if we need to use more, we'll have to think where to get. From where can we get those 9.1 billion? We cut expenditures for all offices of the executive branch. I mean, for the Parliament, our ministries, and we'll save about 460 million hryvnia. Of course, if there is a decision about to reduce the salary to public servants, I think it will be a very good example that state public servants support financing such programs. And we agreed with the proposals with MPs that maybe there should be special military tax, and it should be 1.5% from salary by the end of the year. And in such a way we can get 2.9 billion hryvnia to direct that money to a general balance of the budget, and it will be a very good source to finance this sector. 2.3 billion will be also on the balance, on the general balance, and then if insurance fund will, and if we cut expenditures for administrative staff, etc., etc., and if we put all of these things together, we would like to cut donations to coal industry we have, and we'll collect that money, and I hope that will provide cover everything which what we need for defense of the country. This is very briefly what I wanted to inform you about. Thank you very much. We have questions from the audience. Don't forget to introduce yourself. Union, you told that you spent 2 billion. Could you specify where to? If you have 5 billion, why don't you use them? A very good question. Here, from those 5 billion hryvnia which are not used from the reserve fund, 790 million, that is for monetary support and for mobilized. This is for longer term. Also to provide food to mobilized, and that's a resource which will be used next month, etc. There are some not used goods to buy equipment and weapons and communication devices, and since we receive explanations from military structures, it's because they are supposed to hold tenders, and because of that, the Parliament passed changes to the law, amendments to the law which provide simplified tender proceedings, the request, and etc. That tender procedure, if you look at the technology, it takes 21 days. They could cut down to 15 days. I have to draw your attention to the fact that earlier, even in our laws, it was provided that different material resources from a state reserve in case we need for the defense of the country could be used without tender procedures. Unfortunately, in the first quarter of this year, the Parliament passed a decision that to cancel that law. Humanitarian is no problem without a tender, but when there is a threat to the state, they cancel it. So that decision of the Parliament makes sense to support the state defense of the state. So there are some shortcomings. But money, it's important. What makes me happy that we have money to. That's the main for our main task, and believe me that we'll try to provide somehow all necessary for our military men. 2 billion. I told 2 billion. That's what we would like to take from different funds. That's what you mean. You said that you spent 2 billion. Okay. Look, we used 2.3 billion revenue from them. 909. That's for salary, including those 100 award since May 1. 18.7 million. That's for training, etc. Food, 71 million. Individual protective means, UCMC 83 million. Full laundry, 1.9. Medical equipment, 4.7 million. Fuel and oil, 371 million. To pay for the transportation of weapons, 8.4. Repairing and communications, 771, and one-time money assistance to families of died, 41 million. And you understand me that those families lost parents, fathers, children, and from moderators. So we have at 5 o'clock we'll have Volodymyr Grossman, and he confirmed just a question. Everything is clear for everything for the army and everything for the war. And you speak about cuts for public servants. Don't you think that any cuts for public servants in Ukraine that will bring to corruption, indirectly or directly, instead of cutting the salaries, maybe it's better to develop the law on public service which will allow to keep normal salaries for them, just for them not to steal, not to use such arguments, of course. That is one of the main topics, and for us to outroot corruption in the public service. I don't know what that is and how to do that, but we have to do it. I agree with you. You know that the Parliament has a draft law which provides measures that can clear the situation. But, dear ladies and gentlemen, of course, these public servants, we can blame them and everything. You have probably facts, so that I don't mind. But don't include everyone who's there in the public service. Believe me, they cut the number of cars. And the Ministry of Finances, one car. We need to do the money from the bank, etc., etc. So I needed to go to the meeting because we are on Podol. And I called 100 man in Ministry of Finance, and nobody has a car. I had to take a taxi and to go to the Cabinet of Ministers. So don't. We should criticize someone concretely. We should our criticism should not include everybody. As to a salary, I would like to tell you that in the first draft that was prepared, that was an awful cut of the salary. Two months of salary. We thought that we would make people to work part-time, and also we need to dismiss people. But then we developed that draft law, and we keep those 460 million. That will not public servants. Then they will have some salary. They will have to say something. We have to reduce something. But you know that the level of salary in Ukraine of public servants is, compared to other countries, is smaller. If you compare with Georgia and even with that country which starts with R, I don't want to name it, but I agree with your question. If public servants is found, I don't know what should be done to that person for him not to. I don't have a Dutch for 15. I just came to this work on March 6. The last government would dismissed me all the time in 2010, 2006 to 2006, and then I came back. So I don't have a Dutch. Maybe that's why they kicked me out. About the salary for military men, the second wave, does it include public servants, and what will be how big are the cuts? Does it cover only the national level or all? Yes, you told that there is no money to pay to military men, and there is no money to fill BTRs. Were those emotions, or really you don't have money? For the first question, I would like to ask: it will not be a big cut of the salary for public servants, and it doesn't include doesn't cover local public servants. Because we have big problems there with payment on the level of districts and the administrations. The salary is 1,500 or 600. We don't cut. We don't have salary cuts there. But as to central level in the parliament, administration, the secretariat of cabinet ministers, there will be cuts. 460 million. I cannot give you in percentage, but there will not cut compulsory payments. Public servants will survive, believe me, I know. I don't want to say, I don't want to describe my reaction to such a cut, but it was 1.6% of tax, military tax. Everybody will pay for that. So all of us together will finance, and we hope that everything will be fine. From when we introduced that cut, by the end of the year, everyone in the ministry will decide how to do it and when to have that cut. Me, in the Ministry of the Staff, I'm all responsible for the salary in the Ministry of Finances. I gave an order to my team, and they showed everything to me. That in August we'll make little cuts, and then, but we cut not only expenditures for salary, but also we'll save on other spendings. For example, have you been to the Ministry of Finances? If you come in, you will see that I switched off the lamps, electricity bulbs in corridors, and they asked me how will we walk on staircases. I told them we will try to do it. We'll have to save on everything, and also we reduced the number of cars. We'll save on everything and we'll survive. It will not be a problem. The second question was Yatsenyuk That was not emotions. I told you that we still have 5 billion hryvnia, but there are some tenders, and all those spendings will be focused, etc. And in August we have to buy fuel, and we need 9.9 billion by the end of the year. Those are not the emotions of the prime minister, but he cares about the final result and about how to support for the defense of the country. I'm not a member of a many party. I speak as a professional, and he was. Those were not just emotions, and I hope that the parliament. Will pass the law. If not, I will provide for the defense of the country. I will find some even if I violate abuse the law. How to enlarge the profit balance? We, together with the amendments to the budget, we gave them the draft law on amendments to the tax code, and there is a whole number of articles that will allow us to have more revenues, and there will be a 1.5% of a military tax, and they criticized us in the parliament for that draft law on cancel some benefits for agricultural producers and for those enterprises that have land more than 1,000 hectares of land. And now we there will be some that benefit will be there. We'll find. I would like to draw your attention. For example, we don't get revenues, but during the first part of the year, I can boast with that more than 10 billion hryvnia we mobilized for the profit part, because we closed tax pits and other tax holes and other violations in the legislation, order on the customs, etc. I don't say that we did everything possible. It's just a small beginning of what should be done. And I don't know what we must do. If 137 billion, that's the fund in the shadow sector of the economy, if it's 3% from the whole trade, well, you can calculate that maybe we need to legalize everything there. Also, we have a special order of the Minister of Finances, and in which we prepared our proposals from the point of view of how to legalize salary and informal work. Final decision will be taken, but and we have to introduce fines, tough fines for people who work illegally, because they suffer also. If anything happens to them, they will not get any welfare. So we have to raise fines on one hand, and also we should encourage business. We should try 49.6. That is the percentage for one social input. In average, it's 41%. We have to do that, and then somehow we'll solve the situation, solve the problem. Some questions on bonds, state bonds. Ocean Bank in 3 months placed only one third of the issue. Mr. Slopak, Minister of Finance Slopak promised to report every 2 weeks, and there was only one report. And how do you spend that money? And one more question about military bonds to legal entities. What is the placement? Because the government has ambitious plan, the plan to issue bonds for 1 billion. In the morning, the Minister of Finances had a meeting on that issue. And since next week, on Tuesday and on Thursday, The Minister of Finances will come twice a week with proposals as to loans for what you are talking about. I don't have concrete recording. You probably speak about military bonds and how we use them. I can give you that information by the phone. If you give me your phone, I can explain how we use them. It's difficult to judge. I worked in the Department of Internal Audit of the National Bank, but I want to say that in principle, the bank provides, does it work well, and the Ministry of Finances, from the salary of July, we are served by Oschat Bank, and all our people agreed. So we feel that that bank will handle its work, and everything will be fine. Ministry of Finances, could you control commanders and staffs as to how they are supported financially? And also you didn't mention how you finance voluntary battalions that are a part of Ministry of Interior or of the Ministry of Defense. Do they get some money? As to the first question, I want to answer in this way. Ministry of Finances, there are different stages of control. There's a control on the stage of planning. There is an everyday control on the stage of transferring money, and also there is the consequent control. As to the stage of planning, we do such control, such audit. Probably you have information about the fact that the government set up a special commission with the participation of MPs, representatives from other law enforcement bodies, and I run that commission. And we're trying to control how money is used. We had a meeting recently, and we listened to all enforcement bodies, and they reported how they use that money and what problems they have. As to control of such, to go and to check documents, and we have central bodies of executive branch. When the Ministry of Defense or any law enforcement bodies transfers money, they bring to the Treasury, they bring bills, and the Treasury keep a track of that, and then the State Financial Inspection. They are responsible for the next control. During that meeting which I held, I would like to thank the Deputy General Prosecutor, who was there, and they decided to examine how money is used, especially for procurements. I have not received information yet, but we hope that it will happen very soon. But trust me, I have some comments on this, but during these difficult times, I don't want to criticize. I want to help. But in direct conversations, we do everything possible to make the use of money efficient. As to the financial support to voluntary battalions, as I understand. Only National Guards or Ministry of Interior, they have such voluntary battalions. When I was the last time, I met one of the commanders of such a battalion, and the Ministry of Defense in the budget money to finance such structures. We don't have that money. How do they survive? Where I was, a lot of people bring food for them and give in kind donations and also they feed them in the cost of the National Guard. So that's fine. But probably I will look at this issue and I will work on it together with the Ministry of Interior because they lost their life, and when I was there, one of them died. Two more questions. You told that because of the war, the budget doesn't get enough money from taxes, and when you have this deficit, tell us about that deficit. Slovak informed us that there will be 12. The interest rate will be on the level of 12 hryvnia per dollar. This for the first question. I am not responsible for revenues in the Ministry of Finances, but as far as I remember, during the data we have starting since in March or maybe the end of February, and including the last, we under-received 23.5 billion hryvnia. At the same time, because we started to fight with tax holes, and we received, as I remember, 13.5. So 10 billion hryvnia are not covered, and we have to do some other activities to cover all the money, and we limit some expenditures, etc. But the work, your question is very important, because the work to get all the taxes. Our Minister of Finances, I don't know a day that he doesn't hold a meeting on the situation with paying taxes. As to the rate, dollars rate, as the minister told, but it doesn't mean that it will be directly like that. It doesn't mean that we could hold it on the level of 11 hryvnia. But we need that rate just to decide on our expenditures. In my, for example, department, we enlarged expenditures to support diplomatic offices abroad and military attaché. And so this is the rate for calculations. If we take one of the influences on the deficit, on inflation, that is deficit of the budget, of the state budget. If we succeed to reduce it, then we could have better results in macroeconomics. Thank you very much. I would like to remind to you that this information, we have a copy at the desk by the entrance, and also thank you very much. And at 4 o'clock there will be Colonel Lysenko, and he'll speak about ATO, and then Vice Prime Minister Mr. Grossman will give a briefing in this media center. Because I'm such a young professional, they just hired me. Maybe I said something wrong, I beg your pardon. I hope you will support me, because it's very difficult. Not just physically, but morally. When you cannot help everyone, when they yell at me and from Chernobyl, but I feel I have such work. Thank you.